The courtroom was a pressure cooker, the air thick with unspoken dread. My daughter, Grace, sat in her wheelchair, her hands clutching the armrests as if they could anchor her against the storm. At 15, she was a portrait of courage, her eyes scanning the room for a shred of kindness. No one met her gaze, not the neighbors who once shared our barbecue, not the teachers who'd called her an inspiration, and certainly not Marjorie. Marjorie perched at the prosecution table, her posture rigid, a faint smirk curling her lips like she'd just won a game of chess. The judge's voice cut through the silence. 7 years in juvenile detention. Grace's breath hitched, but she didn't break. I did, though only for a moment. As Marjorie gloated, I made a vow. She didn't know who I was. She didn't know that I, Thomas Harper, wasn't just a grieving father. I was the state's attorney general, and I was about to turn her world upside down. How did a neighborhood spat spiral into a felony charge against a disabled teenager? How did one woman's obsession with control hijack an entire community to crush a child? This isn't just a story about a bad neighbor. It's about power run amok, about what happens when no one stands up to tyranny. Marjorie didn't just want to rule our cul-de-sac. She wanted to own it. And when Grace refused to bow, she became a target. This is the story of how one woman tried to destroy my daughter and how I made sure she paid the price. We moved to Willow Creek for the quiet. The kind of place where maples line the streets, casting dappled shadows on picket fences. We weren't after status or clout, just a haven for Grace. Born with a spinal condition, she navigated the world from her wheelchair, but her spirit was boundless. She sketched landscapes with a precision that stole your breath, her pencils capturing the world's beauty in ways most people overlooked. My wife, Clara, was a pediatric nurse, and her warmth was a balm to everyone she met. Me? I kept my role as Attorney General under wraps. In a polarized world, anonymity felt safer than influence. Willow Creek was idyllic at first. Kids biked past our ranch-style home on Cedar Lane, and neighbors swapped recipes at block parties. Grace made friends, sketching squirrels by the mailbox or chatting with the delivery guy. But peace is fragile, and Marjorie was its fracture point. She lived 2 doors down, her lawn a manicured shrine, her mailbox sporting a sign listing community standards. When we met, she handed me a pamphlet, Cedar Lane Homeowners Association Guidelines. Her smile was too tight, her eyes too sharp. I thanked her and filed it away, but her tone lingered, a warning dressed in politeness. The trouble started small. A citation for our recycling bin lingering curbside an hour too long. A note about Grace's portable ramp needing HOA approval. Whispers at the mailbox about those new folks. Clara saw it as quirks of a tight-knit community. Grace was blunter. She's got snake eyes, Dad. We laughed, but the tension grew. Marjorie watched Usher's silhouette in her window when Grace's friends visited, her car slowing as she passed our driveway. Then came the chalk incident. Grace and her friends drew a mural on the sidewalk, stars, trees, a rainbow. By morning, a citation arrived, defacement of public property. Marjorie stood across the street, arms crossed, nodding as I read it. I hosed off the chalk, my jaw tight. Grace wasn't a neighbor to her. She was a flaw in her perfect order. I tried reasoning with the HOA, but Marjorie ran the show. Unelected, she wielded influence like a scepter, and the board bent to her will. The violations piled up, Grace's wheelchair scuffing the grass, her laughter during playdates labeled disruptive, and her painted mailbox a field of daisies deemed noncompliant. Grace sobbed, asking if she belonged there. Clara urged calm, but I felt the cracks forming. Then came the dog. Grace found a stray mutt, all rib, and wags, and named him Scout. 2 days later, Marjorie reported an unauthorized animal. She claimed Scout lunged at her. Our cameras showed he never left the porch, but animal control took him. Grace's heart broke, and I knew Marjorie wasn't after compliance, she wanted domination. The tipping point came on a crisp Tuesday. Grace was sketching a community garden when Marjorie stormed over, phone recording, voice shrill. "You're damaging HOA property," she snapped, claiming Grace had scratched a planter. Grace held up her pencil, bewildered, but Marjorie circled her, filming, taunting. "This isn't your playground." Clara and I rushed out, demanding she back off. Marjorie turned her camera on me. Hiding something? I warned her she'd crossed a line. She smirked. "You think you're above the rules." That night, she filed a complaint, alleging Grace vandalized multiple properties, scratching cars, tipping bins. Her evidence was doctored videos and grainy clips of Grace with misleading narration. The HOA escalated it to the police, calling it a public safety issue. An officer visited, apologetic but firm, asking questions. We showed Grace's sketchbook and our security footage. He left, and we thought it was over. It wasn't. Marjorie filed a police report, claiming Grace was mentally unstable and a threat. She cited Grace's disability as proof of danger, even alleging personal fear. The district attorney, swayed by HOA pressure, opened a juvenile case. Grace faced charges of reckless endangerment. She cried, asking if she'd lose her pencils, her friends, her future. That night, staring at Marjorie's porch light, I decided, no more silence. Marjorie's campaign was relentless. She rallied HOA allies, spinning tales of a violent teen. Neighbors we'd known turned cold, mailboxes filled with anonymous notes. Control your kid. She faked texts, tampered with footage, and even pinned a broken community sign on Grace. A petition, Protect Cedar Lane, gathered 50 signatures. The DA took it seriously, and Grace was arrested. I wasn't home. Clara watched, helpless, as Grace was loaded into a squad car, her eyes wide with fear. The juvenile center was stark, with no place for a child. Grace couldn't have her sketchbook or blanket. We saw her through glass, silent, shut down by trauma. At the arraignment, Marjorie testified, her voice quivering with rehearsed sorrow. She called Grace aggressive and claimed she'd threatened her with Scout. HOA members parroted her lies. The judge listened, the gallery whispered, and Grace sat, lost. I stayed in the shadows, building a case, original footage, emails, a leaked HOA call where Marjorie admitted she had no proof, only perception. The final hearing was brutal. The prosecution demanded 7 years. Grace's lawyer, young and overwhelmed, pleaded, she's a victim of a vendetta. The judge, unmoved, sentenced Grace. Clara sobbed. Grace folded inward. Marjorie's smirk was my breaking point. As I left, I faced her. You made this personal. As Attorney General, I'll make it justice. Her face froze. I launched an investigation, recusing myself from direct prosecution but wielding my authority. A press release sparked a media frenzy. AG probes HOA corruption in juvenile case. At a press conference, with Clara and Grace's photo beside me, I declared, my daughter was framed by lies and power. This ends now. Marjorie's allies crumbled. The HOA treasurer admitted to falsified complaints.